Hey everybody, it's Patrick Lovell, truth bombing and riffing briefly on Saturday, April 29th, 2023 at 12:30 p.m. my time. And I am really pushing as hard as I possibly can. I had a goal 6 weeks ago that I laid out there, and the idea was to try to generate 1,300 crusaders for justice to come together with a $13 investment based on all of the things that I've laid out to create a tidal wave populist crusade to purge corruption. And you know what? We've gotten some folks, and that's fantastic. I really am so grateful to those of you who have, reached into your pockets and said this is something that you're going to actually pay attention to, and you've listened and you understood where I'm coming from, and it was worthy of you buying in at $13 a piece. Some of you have done quite a bit more, and thank you for that. And as I've mentioned, my objective was always I don't want any more than $13. But the idea was to hopefully have everyone who jumped in to try to bring 13 other people to this movement. And as of yet, we're kind of spinning wheels. I'm one day away from the goal, and we've raised approximately $1,500. That's a far cry from $16,900. Is it disappointing? Yeah. Does it make me want to quit? I'm not sure. But at the same time, I know that given the information that I have and what I'm trying to do is if I quit, that information dies with me and or with this effort. And I don't mean literally. I mean, it just goes nowhere and it just disappears from history. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane and ridiculous. And I'll use this instead of like talking for hours at a time and however that, goes sometimes when I just, it kind of get lost in my own words. It's pretty simple. I'm not a big fan of Bill Maher. In fact, I'm not a fan of Bill Maher. But I find myself kind of drawn to a show depending on the guest, and last night was no exception. He had Elon Musk, and I thought it was important for me to see because I'm using Twitter as my primary tool, and I have this sensibility that I think that I've been censored in some capacity, and I know that in certain ways that we've been able to observe that has been the case. And I just got my blue check recently, and it's kind of like, it's funny in a sense because I actually went through the process of, filling out my form and meeting the criteria of what their standards are for the protocol of getting a blue check. And I know there's a lot of controversy over that as well, particularly as it relates to, a journalistic outfit like the New York Times who have foregone their blue check, which is absolutely hilarious on so many levels. And I could talk about that for hours. But, we've heard stories of like LeBron James getting paid by or having his blue check paid by, by Elon Musk and that sort of thing, which of course was not a part of the conversation between Elon and Bill. Bill's come from was pretty, I say predictable considering where he's come from in terms of what they both seem to try to emulate, which is censorship, right? That's the whole reason why Elon bought Twitter to begin with, supposedly. And I'll remind you, he didn't buy cash. He paid, debt financing, which plays into what it is that I'm revealing to you. But the topic of the conversation was the nature of censorship with Bill's self-proclaimed or self-described woke. What did he call it? He called it a woke mind virus, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, all right. Well, both of them, it would make a lot of sense if they weren't who they were, right? And what we can observe. In my estimation, Bill Maher is just like this, hookah smoking lizard in the velvet hole who's completely disconnected from reality. And he's been on television for a long time, and he might have been worthwhile at one point of his career, but now he's just kind of like a talking points reaction, to try to get people's cackles up and create the outrage echo chamber circus and reacting like everybody else is. It's kind of like a popularity contest. So the notion of censorship from him, outside of I guess his views on the Middle East and some other things that have also been controversial throughout his time period, I don't think that Bill Maher has been censored. But Bill Maher, I'll give him credit on this. He did say one thing really, really funny about Fox News and the ouster of Tucker Carlson. He said that the personalities at Fox are like Menudo and completely expendable. And I tend to agree with him, and at least on that. So that made me laugh. But in terms of the calibration of this woke mind virus and within the context of censorship and what Elon was saying, and they were talking about the First Amendment. Look, I can tell you that I've observed that a colleague of mine got her blue check the same day that she actually went through the process to do it. And it took me 6 weeks, right? And yet I'm the guy that you can see on these truth bombs every single time, and you can cross-reference me. I'm all over Google. You do a search, it says Patrick Lovell producer. You look at my work at www.thecon.tv and everything that I've done on TikTok that's got like 7.5 million views. Patrick Lovell Truth Bombs the Con, and we're fighting forward on YouTube, and we're actually making small but measured gains, and that's cool, but it's not nearly to the point of what it is that I had set as a goal to get on first base. We've been able to get 30 people involved at $13 to invest. That gives us about $1,500. But, the reason there's a lot of reasons why I was actually using the threshold of the number 1,300, because of the way it fits into the brand of what I'm trying to create. Just makes a lot of sense based on what I've been talking about for the last year, and I haven't been able to break through. Meanwhile, Elon Musk has got 137 million followers for whatever Elon brings to the table in his social media circus, which I never find that helpful. Honestly, the Twitter files, okay, it all skews to the right at the end. There is suppression at Twitter. There is no doubt. There is no doubt that all of the techniques that Elon and his team were critical of the previous Twitter, Jack, whatever the hell his name is, administration, I'm sure that they've done the same thing. Now, and so all of this discussion about the First Amendment and censorship, and that's, the complete betrayal of what it is that we are, and it's dangerous because it can lead to autocracy and oligarchs or, autocrats. I mean, what? Really? That's what you've been doing, Elon? Yeah, have I been a big fan of yours forever? I've had a Tesla X picture up in my wallet to try to, get me fired up about using that as a goal for me eventually, that when things come together, I'm going to be driving my Tesla X. It has been for a long time. So Elon's an incredible disappointment to me, given everything that's taken place with Twitter, okay? But moving forward, with the conversation between Bill Maher and Elon Musk as it relates to what I'm saying. So here these guys are talking in platitudes, again, like everybody else. Everybody wants to talk about corruption. Everybody wants to talk about the other side's corruption. And meanwhile, we have millions of people willing to say that they are for law and order, and they would actually go down the pathway with a guy like Donald Trump, who's guilty of so many felonies and crimes I don't even think we can count. We know that he's registered over 5,000 lies over the course of his presidency, and yet people still follow him. So it's just a freaking insane, matrix of misinformation and disinformation in every single direction, and yet everybody is searching for the answers that I have. Elon Musk is worth 174 billion. People kind of bow and bend the knee and oh my God, look at King Elon. The guy is worthy of all of my respect because he's worth as much money as his. Oh my God! And what I'm carrying around is $29 trillion. Am I worth $29 trillion? Well, I shouldn't be, but I'm carrying the $29 trillion truth that I spent years and millions of dollars aggregating from the top minds and the professionals in the system that gave me this information, that the entirety of the $90 billion apparatus of our investigation institutions are responsible to prevent from happening. And I had to go and make it all happen, which I did. Which is at the www.thecon.tv, which buried over 100 million people worldwide. It connects all of the misery from the Black Lives Matter movement to all of the misery of the MAGA movement, but none of them can see the forest through the trees, that it's all been a fucking sabotage. And so here I am with just, a day left, and it's okay, what do you do? What do you do when they don't listen? Well, you try to turn up the volume. Well, I've tried that. I've tried to turn down the volume. I've tried to be funny. I've tried to, connect with your sensibilities. I've tried to, do this patchwork sort of scenario where it's just common sense that if you want wars to end, you're not going to get there without defeating corruption. If you want a sustainable planet, you're not going to get there without the Clean New Deal, which is what this is all about. And I can't break through to the millions of people that need to hear this. This isn't hyperbole. These aren't platitudes. I've got the evidence of exactly who did what, when, and how that led to Federal Reserve Act 13.3 being used as the lender of last resort capacity to provide tens of trillions of dollars to a bankrupt financial system that got there through criminal fraud and international racketeering. That's our system, and it has not ceased to be our system. I know economists who know monetary policy inside and out who refuse to engage corruption. It's the emperor's no clothes. It's the elephant in the room. My God, people, what is it going to take to inspire you? I am an optimistic person. I believe anything is possible. I know it has been. We've seen it in our lifetimes. But I cannot believe the level of ignorance, of conformity, of people who ignore what is that's going to redeem them. The country has to be of, by, and for the people. It has to have separation of powers. It has to have the integrity of law for our society to function. And it doesn't. You don't have a democracy. Free markets are an absolute myth. Capitalism, it's not capitalism. It's corporate fascism undergirded by a criminal syndicate that uses socialism to fuel the mafiocracy that is now, of course, fueling fascism. All of which are unacceptable. When you join me, together we rise as a critical mass to purge corruption with the facts. I'm asking you to invest $13. You'll get something out of it. I think you'll get a lot of great things. I'm talking physical t-shirt, bumper sticker, whatever. But the bottom line is you're going to save the country. You're going to save the world. You're going to save the future for your grandchildren. The fact is we have got to come together because nobody else can do this. Nobody else has the information. Nobody else has the courage and the commitment and the integrity to go forward. I continue to bring this information to you and you resist. You ignore it. You try to find what? Solace in Russell Brand? He doesn't know how this works. Jimmy Dore, he's going to announce his presidency and he knows nothing about how corruption works. I mean, he's kind of like on the outliers. What about Joe Rogan? I mean, it's the same. And then all of our, there's dead ends in every direction. I am the deliverer. But that doesn't make me think that I can walk on water or part the Red Sea. I've got the information that took years and millions of dollars to aggregate. Is it yesterday's news? No, it's how our system works. And until you understand how the engine works, you can't fix it when it's broke. And our society is broke. It's a failed state. What else do I have to do? I guess I'll keep coming at you, but man, we're a day away. Can I somehow, if you believed in Martin Luther King, if you were on the side of the Union against slavery with Abraham Lincoln and a nation of by and for the people shall not perish from this earth. You got to be with me. Same if you were a patriot and you would have fought against King George III and the most powerful empire at that time, or fascism during World War II. I mean, all of the good guy stuff that this country is, and you got to think of it like NASA. And of course, my last name is Lovell, which was Jim Lovell, who was on the Apollo 13 mission. And there you go with a 13 correlation. And what did they do to be able to survive, which was, impending disaster, and the odds of survival were 1 in a million. 1 in a billion, whoever knows what the statistics were. They figured out the problem and they found a solution and they freaking triumphed. That's what we're going to do if you join me. We have to do this together. Please understand, this isn't about me. This is about us. I've spent years and I've sacrificed my life and millions of dollars to bring you the information that can change history. Failure is not an option. Rise, war, revolt. Onwards and upwards.